Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in.
Hi there.
Hello, Fabian. You're frozen.
Hi, Kishin.
You're frozen. Oh, now, okay, you're back on.
I'm frozen.
Yeah, a bit
No, I
glitchy.
always have the same facial expression, actually. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, let's recap.
Yeah, the connection is not 100% stable, but we're gonna work.
Okay, that's fine. So let's recap. Last time we talked about the benefits of developing our mind, why we need to do it. And I just want to cover what happens if we don't, right? So we have this mind that is quite rough, like
So,
this. Yeah, like a rough piece of wood. Or you can think of like a rough piece of rock, a diamond that hasn't been polished and cut. Or you can think the untaught mind or untrained or undeveloped mind is like raw mineral that we haven't purified and filtered and made into something. So we have all these beliefs and programs that's taught to us when we were little. Or we have this coping mechanism that we automatically, because of survival, we develop as in childhood. And you can see the more that we go unaware of them and untrained, this underlying unconscious program, beliefs, wounds, it will act on us, right? And we can see it through addiction. We can see it through spontaneous reaction to something. We can see it through distortion of perception, broken relationships, illness in the body and the mind, and just unhappy life, unsatisfied life. And very much an untaught mind is very much dependent on the external for satisfaction and happiness, right? So the more we develop, the more we regain our life, we live it more consciously, and we live it independently, right? Because we don't let other people's opinion define us. We don't let illness define us. We don't let our trauma define us. We don't let our desires, our cravings define us. So we regain a lot of the power back. So that is, you can say, self-empowerment. But an untaught mind can't do that. An untaught mind is very much a puppet, right? When we feel pain, we would automatically find something to distract because we can't deal with it, right? It's very painful. But part of training is also being able to be okay to sit in that pain, to sit in that uncomfortableness, to sit in that boredom. So An untaught mind is like a puppet. We go wherever our sense desires pull us, right? We go wherever people's opinion or praise, right? So it's very easily to stroke this person. It's very easily to trigger this person. So an untaught mind is very easily manipulated, right? Because you see all these triggers and you just press them.
Yes.
An untaught mind also is full of woundings, right? And react through that woundings because there isn't enough self-awareness. An untaught mind is quite tired because part of training the mind in the process is that we find our inner source of vitality, so to speak, inner source of fresh spring that energize us, right? Not by going holiday, not by going yoga, not by doing anything, but just tapping into that spring. We'll cover all of these. Just remind me to cover them. I'm just talking as it come up. Yeah, so that is an untaught
Yes,
mind.
it's totally fine.
So do you have any questions before we go on to the how?
I found it very interesting what you said about the puppet metaphor. So basically, it's kind of like we have this so-called hindrances, right? Which basically block us from clear seeing, from being independently away from this puppet player. So what you're saying is that the puppet player is actually the beliefs we got to know once we're like growing up, and our parents taught us, society taught us. And also the bad situations or challenging situations, and yeah, the surviving mechanism, like fight or flight sort of system, which is like deeply ingrained in our mind, and this unaware, unconscious way of living is actually you're basically living on yeah. Autopilot is also another metaphor to the tunes of it, right? So we yeah, we do whatever the fact negatively, or yeah. So it's kind of like we're walking through life with like several layers of glasses on, and like reality seems to be very unsharp, or like super filtered. Is like the way when we practice and developing and cultivating the mind is actually putting glasses after glasses up, so it becomes more sharp in a way, and more, it's like not so narrow-minded, but more open, wide, and accepting, right? So and I find it very interesting and important for everyone that this sort of unhappy state, this conditioned reality we're in, this convention, that we transform that. So because myself, I have like experienced that many times. Like, for instance, one thing goes wrong in the morning, right? Say the coffee machine doesn't work, and then when I say was not really into developing the mind, I would get like super annoyed. So I'm saying, okay, that's gonna be a bad day. So automatically the mind says, it encounters something uncomfortable, or say out of the routine, So, and if that's not worked, the program is on, like, okay, that's gonna be a bad day. And then I would search, and now I know, before I didn't, but I would look for points which are to be fault finded, right? So say things, because I already told myself that's gonna be a bad day, right? So it's interesting. Just an example of that I totally know what you're meaning. That sort of the puppet player got me on its hooks and its strings, and yeah, and I find it very important to the self empowerment. So yeah, let's go into the how to develop the mind, how to overcome these obstacles and hindrances.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to quickly make a comment that nowadays I'm hearing a lot of conspiracies,
Mhm.
and there is a lot of blame, and there is always blaming that the puppet master is always something out there, right? Always it's the government, it's always this group, it's always that and this. But as we bring the awareness back into ourselves, we realize that the puppet master is living unconsciously, living with no self-awareness. So in a sense, the puppet master is ourself, right? It is the aspect of us that we are not conscious of, right? If we are not conscious of our emotion, it will pull us. If we're not conscious of our program and beliefs, it will affect, impact, and define us. So, yeah, so just want to clear that out, because lots of misconception of who is the actual puppet master.
Yes, yes. It's basically when we talk about this metaphor of the elephant, right? So it's not the jungle who makes the elephant wild. It's actually the elephant which sort of is wild in itself already because it is not domesticated. And things which go wrong when the elephant goes wild can be very devastating, not only for us and not only for the way we're seeing life, but like to actually harm others via body, via speech, and via mind. And like we can run down villages, we can just whatever, like be a danger also in a way. So it's important to talk about yeah, when the elephant goes wild, and we've covered that. So how to unwildering, or like how to yeah, how to tame
Okay.
it now.
Um, I'll just quickly cover three simple aspects, right? First, we already quickly touch uh, the bringing the mind back to the present and into the body is so important,
Mhm.
because majority of our consciousness is while we are awake, right? I'm going to talk about meditation too, because it is also important, and I will tell you why it's important. And also
Mhm.
the other aspect is, I would say, uh, have a kind attitude to everything, right? So let's cover in depth, how do we bring the mind back to the present. It is very hard, because we doesn't matter whether you're 20 years old, 30 years old, or 40 years old. That is how long we've lived with this pull, right? And because we haven't been taught how to bring it back, so most of our life is basically a zombie, autopilot, living in
Yes.
the past, living in the future, living in our mind. But when we start developing, then we have to have to fine tune this aspect. And it's very easy. It's a matter of keep reminding to ourselves where we are. Like I used to ask myself, where am I? What am I doing? Right? Just those two questions, and then bang, you're back to the present, and you realize I'm at home, I'm washing dishes, I'm at work, I'm doing the book, so on and so on. Or you can have sticky notes, right? You have notes say now, you have the present, you stick everywhere, and that would also remind you. So we have just like prompt here and there that remind us. It's everything with practice, right? And as we do it more and persistently, then we could be good at it. But it is so crucial, this aspect. I can't emphasize enough, because you got to do it every day. You got to do it every moment that you remember. Because like I say, this will interrupt a lot of unconscious beliefs program that run us, right? The puppet master. This will interrupt the energy, the ingrained program, right? So we don't feed it anymore. Every time we live in it and focus in it, we feed that. So it's like the brain, right? If you keep doing a certain behavior, then this nerve and this neuron keep firing, and then eventually it become ingrained habit. So in order to interrupt that firing, you've got to do something different. And the easiest is bring it back to the present. Bring your awareness to the present. And just notice, right? What are we doing? What our hand doing? What our mouth doing? Who are we with? What is actually here? And another great benefit is when we're present, we pay more attention and time and focus on the person we're with, right? So our relationship is better. Our job is more productive and effective because we're here, right? And it's also less draining, because while you work, and then also in the mind at the same time, it kind of like leak your energy. So every time you bring it more and more into the present, you reserve your energy, right? You're not off spending that mind energy, leaking it. So
Yes.
Scanning the body is also good with bringing and relaxing the body, bring it to the present. Yeah, so that is one aspect for beginning. Another is to start practicing meditation, right? Now, there's all these techniques of meditation, this and that, but I'm just going to cover a very simple one. The one that, okay, if we talk about meditation, I have to cover a few misconceptions, right? So meditation is not about stealing the mind. It's not about not thinking. Meditation is not, it's not about going into trance. It's not about going to realms. It's not about it's not about going anywhere. Meditation is basically like mindfulness, but we are sitting. Now, the benefit of that is when we practice mindfulness in the body and being in the present, is we use this motion, like our hand motion, our feet motion, the way we chew, all that, to anchor the mind in the present. So, but we also need to teach the mind not to do that, not to rely on motion, right? So, and a way to do that is to sit. So that's and another why we meditate is we learn to transcend, right? We learn what made us. So if we sit long enough and practice long enough, and talking about 10, 20 years, we will transcend the body, right? We will transcend the feeling. We will transcend form, rupa, or in English, matter, right? The matter realm. And then we will go into the immaterial, the mind realm, arupa, into consciousness itself. And we need to also transcend that, because if we get stuck there, then we'll define ourselves to be this infinite consciousness, or like some people say, the universe or the pure mind. That's because they haven't transcended the mind. They haven't transcended the immaterial.
Just in between. So what exactly do you mean with transcending? So
Transcending means
what is the meaning of that?
transcend. When you transcend something, mean you go beyond that, right? You go another level beyond that, because it's like a caterpillar. When it's become a butterfly, it transcends its caterpillar form, and it become a butterfly,
I see.
right? So it's like the frog and the tadpole. When the tadpole become a frog, it transcends the tadpole form.
Okay, that's good that you're saying that. Okay.
Yeah. So with us, like if we don't transcend this body, then we will keep identifying with the body. We will keep identifying with our beliefs. We'll keep identifying with our feeling. But if we learn to gradually transcend them, then we'll know that we are not them, right? We are more than that. We go beyond. So we tap into, some people might say, the 80% of the brain, so to speak. So we tap more into the unknown aspect that can't be quantified, it can't be measured, because once you go into the immaterial, what can equipment measure the immaterial, right?
Yeah.
So it become quite subjective, quite personal experience, and so it's very hard to prove, because it's not a scientific device that can measure us consciousness. Yeah. So I mentioned mindfulness and I mentioned meditation. Okay, with meditation, it's quite simple, right? I think we have to have an attitude that we can meditate anywhere, right? We have to be able to sit at the bus stop on a bench, close our eyes, and meditate for 5 minutes. Or while we're waiting the potato to boil, sit down, meditate for 10 minutes, right? So we should be able to do that.
Sorry, go ahead.
And what does it involve? It's very simple. It's just sitting, being still, calm yourself, and just be present, right? Right? So when we close our eyes, there's no motion to anchor our awareness. The only sense left is our hearing. So I would use sound as an anchor, right? Lots of people use other tools like mantra, but you got to be careful. Everything is just tool. It's not a method in itself. When a tool become a method in itself, then it's quite dangerous. If we approach every techniques as a tool, then a tool, we only use it for a certain purpose, then we let it go. Mm-hmm. So in the beginning, when we sit down and we relax our body and we take deep breath to calm it, and then we go into listening, we go into sound, and that's how we meditate. We stay in the present. And I'll talk about jhana later, but just perfecting these techniques is already giving people calmness, a lot of benefits already, right? But the attitude of meditation is, if you imagine, I used to have this approach that 5 minutes in meditation is 5 minutes I don't have to be anybody. 5 minutes.
That's a good.
Yeah, I don't need to go anywhere. I don't need to achieve anything. I don't need to do anything. It's such a relief to not be somebody, right? To not please somebody, right? It's that amount of time is that freedom for yourself, right? Just take a break from everything. 5 minutes free of responsibilities. 5 minutes just for yourself. It's such a beautiful time for yourself, right? And just being,
yes.
Just being this simplicity, just living with no agenda, with nowhere to go. See, that is how that is how I meditate, not to attain anything, not to experience anything extraordinary and bliss, and that's all icing on the cake. But the cake itself is just a break.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's I try to do that too, like seeing it as a, say, mini holiday, mini vacation, of the duties, of the roles you have to play, of the thoughts which keep on, dragging you along. And yeah, so yeah, I found it beautiful what you say. Just so you say that present moment awareness is already meditation, and where is mindfulness actually involved in that? Is mindfulness present moment awareness? Or, like, you hear all these words, there's so many podcasts, so many people talking about meditation, there's so many out there, but like, actually, to clarify that, that words and the meaning of them is, I find, for interesting for everyone else, very helpful.
Okay. We've got 10 minutes. I'll be quick with this one.
Here we go again.
Basically, it's pretty much the same, but it's different in the posture, and it's different in the purpose, right? Mindfulness, meaning we focus the mind, we bring it here and we sustain it here. That aspect is everywhere. That is the anchor of the mind, right? But if we are moving during the day and we're doing things, it's called mindfulness. But when we sit down It's the same thing. It's also bringing the mind to the present and sustain it in the present. But because we are sitting down, then we call it meditation.
And there's not so much change, right? So if you're
No.
doing in your daily life mindfulness, and you're doing like, you know, you're washing the dishes, you're going out, you know, pressing down the handle of whatever of a door, and then you walk, and then your attention or the mindfulness is on the sole of your feet. So basically everything changes a lot, but what mindfulness means is to be the full mind attention onto what you're doing at the moment, but still it changes, like the occupations and the business, but you still be with it. So that's mindfulness. But you say meditation is when you basically go and go in sitting meditation, and then you can stay actually on an object of your choice, which can be different ones, as the Buddha taught. I mean, there's so many out there you can focus on, but you use the mind for the tool and stay on that one specific tool. So that's
Yeah.
meditation, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So also the difference between meditation and mindfulness during the day is the opportunity that it gives you, right? You can't transcend yourself or different aspect of yourself while you are moving. So while you are moving and you're doing things, you can only be mindful of say if you're driving, you can't go and transcend yourself. You know what I mean? It's not pragmatic, it's quite dangerous.
Yes.
So, so you can only transcend yourself once your body is safe and comfortable, and you learn to transcend aspect of yourself, to learn that you are not that, to tap into more of yourself, more potential, more connection, and more expansion, and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So that is why it's called meditation, because the opportunity is so much more. While mindfulness is learning to interrupt the thinking, because a lot of our conscious time is during our wakeful time. So if we have no techniques to train the mind during that time, then it's useless, right? So we um,
So, like, actually, mindfulness is something like, if we're not mindful, then basically we are in a dream. Or one could say, if we're not mindful of what we're doing and experiencing, we are like crazy, or we are deaf. Actually, we're dead. So if you go to that extreme, but yeah, so I find it very interesting to talk about that. Unfortunately, our time is nearly up. Um,
yeah. So we
but
will
yeah,
we will continue on next time. I'll quickly cover the other aspect. I'll recap to the next time, and we'll continue. Um, yeah, thank you for tuning in, Fabian, and I'll see you next time.
yes,
Thank you,
I'm looking
everybody.
forward to it. All right.